Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. Thank you very much for joining us. And today we're discussing, as usual, quite a number of issues that are out there in the public. First, we're looking at the immunity clause, the National Assembly, especially the House of Representatives now, because we're still waiting for the Senate to see what it decides to do. But the House of Representatives has decided to do away with the immunity clause. Do not also forget that the national conference that just ended not quite long ago also recommended the removal of the immunity clause. So we have the House of Representatives now towing the same line, saying the immunity clause should be removed for the president and the governor. So what it basically means, if that decision sails through, that is, if at the end of the day the Senate also approves and makes that same recommendation, it will go to the various state houses of assembly, and if the state houses of assembly return it as approved, then it means the president and the governors will no longer enjoy any form of immunity at all from criminal prosecution. Now, some people have said, should that happen, it means you will be exposing the president and the governors to sometimes unnecessary litigations. But we do not know. Some people will just tell you, look, it's a good thing. That is good that if the president is guilty of any criminal offense, he should be made to face the law even while in office. That's what it basically means. Now, we'll also be talking about the APC. Now, what are we looking at in the APC? It's definitely going to be very challenging for the APC choosing its presidential candidate, considering the caliber of persons who have indicated their interest to run for the ticket of that party. You have former head of state, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, who has said, of course, he's declared his intention, he's actually picked up the nomination form. Atiku has also, that's a former vice president now, has also picked up the nomination form. We also have the governor of Kano State, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, who has also indicated interest that he would be running for the presidency under the platform of the APC. So it's surely not going to be easy at all for the APC. I mean, the primaries, the presidential primaries, surely not going to be easy. And if the party doesn't manage it very well, then there's every likelihood that the whole thing could just spiral out of control and throw the party into some form of crisis. I'm now being joined on the program by Nelson Ekujimi, who will be taking a look at some of these issues. He's a political affairs analyst and will be helping us to make sense of some of these issues. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Let's start off with the immunity clause. I mean, you are a member of a civil society group. For you, this must be a very positive development, is it?
Well, I don't think so. For me, it is...
That's quite strange. I mean,
yeah, it's quite strange, yeah, to some people. For me, it's a distraction because I think we should be more concerned about building institutions. We should be more concerned about a judicial system of government, a judicial arm of government that will be very, very effective and efficient. We should be more concerned about the legislature performing its constitutional functions. Mind you, even with the immunity clause, the Constitution still allows the legislature to impeach a serving officer if he is found guilty of gross misconduct. So if these things are in place and the legislature can perform its functions the way it's supposed to be, there will be no need for us bothering about immunity or no immunity clause. Because if a governor, even if he has immunity clause, if he's impeached for misconduct, for abuse of office, it means he's liable to stand trial. But what do we have? Even when people who are not in office commit crime in the land without immunity clause, nothing happens at the end of the day.
No, but part of the problem, and that's part of what some people have against the immunity clause, is that, look, if a president commits an offense, if a president, for instance, is accused of stealing, you can't even investigate that president because he enjoys immunity. You can't investigate him.
No, I think that as the issue of investigating the president or a governor has been laid to rest by a judgment that was obtained by late Chief Gani Fawehinmi in the case against former governor of Lagos State, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in which the court said you have the right to investigate, but the right to prosecute is what you don't have. Okay. And the truth of the matter is that if you cannot prosecute, it makes sense. The governor term in office has a lifespan of maybe 4 or 8 years. So if we are really serious as a country that we want to make sure that we ensure that justice is done, no matter the position you occupy in office.
So you should just wait until the governor leaves
Yeah,
office.
we'll wait for him to leave office.
Why not the governor face instant justice at immediate prosecution? Because
the law allows for investigation. If we have enough evidence, we could tender it before the legislature, and they could do the needful.
What is actually wrong in removing the immunity now and say, look, these governors and presidents should be made to face criminal proceedings?
The issue of immunity clause, I think, should not be a big concern. Our concern really should be how do we ensure that a man of impeccable character and integrity gets into office? And how do we, as the citizens, perform our civic responsibility by being the watchdog and not leaving it to some human rights groups or some persons in the media? Because whether we like it or not, democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Democracy is beyond voting on election day. Democracy is about watching every step being taken by those in positions of authority. Because whether we like it or not, politics is about the allocation of resources. And whose resources is going to be allocated? State resources. Resources that could provide education for me and you, that could provide health services, that could provide electricity. Resources that will make life meaningful. Because the resources that will make the government perform its constitutional responsibility to provide for the security and welfare of our citizens. So it behoves on us to ensure that we have a functional system, not a system whereby we make all the noise while the man is in office because he has no immunity. What happens after the man leaves office? Take, for example, governors that were investigated while they were in office and the prosecution by EFCC. Till today, some governors have left office about 8 years ago.
And nothing
is happening. So we should be more concerned with making our judicial system more effective, such that as it happens in this climate, even if it is 25 years, the law will still catch up with you and make sure you face the music. Because if we say you want to remove immunity clause, what happens if you remove immunity clause and the judicial system does not perform its responsibility? At the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. So we should be more concerned.
Do you also support this argument by some people who have said, look, removing the immunity clause now would expose the governors and president, for instance, to unnecessary litigations? Because you could have people just coming up with some spurious litigations and they want to sue.
I don't buy that idea
that a distraction, that you just have to let this president and the governors concentrate on delivering the democracy dividends. So
except a governor or a public officer who is not focused on what he or she wants to do, that will tell you that people leveling or taking up judicial cases against them will be a distraction. Because mind you, I'm a Yoruba man. In Yoruba land, we have a proverb. Ebosho, Oshiru, the sacrifice of the wizards can be made. Eboaje, Oshiru, the sacrifice of the witches can be made. Eboalaruka, for people not to talk, not to complain, you can't help that. It is a fundamental right of any human being. Even if it is for the sake of talking that I want to be heard. We should even be happy if we see people strengthening our judiciary by going to court on issues. It will help our system than people taking up arms. So let people go to court as much as they want to. We must stop being like a father that will beat the child and expect that child not to cry. If anybody is aggrieved, we should provide mechanisms.
Do you honestly think that eventually this can pass? Because, I mean, this is just the House of Representatives. Even if the Senate gives its approval, it still has to go through all the state houses of assembly. Come on, and we know the governors control the state houses of assembly.
Whether it passes or not, I think the Nigerian people should not bother themselves about that. For me, it is a distraction. Because
it's one issue we've talked about for a very long time.
Because the press is raising it as an issue for public discourse. I think we should realize that our judiciary is not playing its role. We have a lot of cases of people who have been indicted for corrupt practices. We have a lot of unresolved murders. We have a lot of cases of people who have stolen public funds. So we should be more concerned with a system that will ensure that if you take 5 naira, if we don't get you now, even if it is 50 years time, the law will perform its responsibility in dishing out the maximum sentence on you so as to serve a deterrent to others. For me, bothering about immunity or no immunity, if you remove immunity and at the end of the day, you cannot get prosecution for a man who has committed an infraction of the law. So what is the essence?
Essence. I understand you perfectly. Now let's turn our attention to the APC. We saw former head of state, General Buhari, pick the nomination form, made a public declaration that attracted quite a huge crowd. We also saw Atiku also did the same thing, all of them in Abuja. There's Kwankwaso, and we have some other people too who we know will definitely pick up this expression of interest form in the coming days and the nomination forms in the coming days. And the PDP has basically made it clear that it wants Jonathan as its sole candidate. No question about that. And some people have said, well, at least that reduces acrimony. But that with what you have in the APC today, there's just no way you can't have some kind of acrimony eventually, because it will be difficult to manage the primaries. do you share that sentiment?
Well, the truth of the matter is that by endorsing Jonathan by the PDP does not remove acrimony, because what they have done is to shut the door against the ambition of some people in violation of the rights of those people to aspire.
And in violation of the party's constitution.
Yes,
so anyway, even though the party has actually come out to say, well, whoever chooses to can still contest.
Yes, it's a violation of the fundamental rights of the members of that party. And I think we should use this medium to encourage some of them who feel really aggrieved to take it further by approaching the courts for justice. Coming to the APC, I think it's a welcome development, because you see, the issue of the presidency of Nigeria is an office that should only be aspired for by people who are serious-minded. It should not be an office for charlatans, because that office is the head of a country of over 150 million people. And you know what it means to even control our homes alone, our wives and our children. You must be a serious father if you want your children and your home to be stable.
Now, the reason I'm asking you this is we know the kind of political intrigues that go with presidential primaries. And those political intrigues could turn out very divisive, and at the end of the day, if not well managed, as we've seen in the past, it could just throw a political party into some kind of crisis that it might find difficult to recover from going into the main election itself.
I think if it throws up crisis within the party and they are not able to manage it, then it means that there's something fundamentally wrong with that party.
But do you foresee some kind of problem, you know, when it comes to the party? Because you have two heavyweight, for instance. You have Atiku Abubakar, who is, of course, he's a very formidable politician. And then you have Buhari as well, a very formidable politician. And some people have come out to say, look, it's like we're beginning to read the body language of the party. When Buhari declared, for instance, the day before, we saw quite a number of APC governors there. APC governors we did not see at Atiku's declaration. That, for instance, people have said could just be a pointer to where the party might be heading to, and that may not be considered too good for people like Atiku.
You see, the only reality about life is that we don't know tomorrow. Don't forget, even in the Bible, a David, an unknown David, overcame a giant of a Goliath. So that these are the front contenders today does not mean or does not translate that they will eventually get the ticket. It now behoves on the party to manage the internal crisis that will, develop, because whether we like it or not, these are individuals who have shown from time immemorial that they know what they want, and they have not hidden their desire for that office. That was why they went and got the nomination from. And for somebody to have aspired for the office of the presidency of Nigeria at this point in time, where we have myriad of problems confronting us, speaks volumes of the intention of that person. And it behoves on us as citizens, even though we might not be supporters or members of the APC, as Nigerians who want our democracy to develop to also be watchful when they know we are watching them as citizens.
Let me ask you a pointed question as a political analyst. I mean, you look at the candidate, there you have Atiku, you also have Buhari, both of them considered the front runners.
Yeah.
Who do you think could pick the ticket of the APC eventually, in your own calculation? I'm asking your opinion.
Well, my opinion about who will pick the ticket, I think should be usual. Give me the benefit of keeping it to myself, because I don't know where the pendulum.
No, but from your own reading of the political situation, yeah, from your own reading of situations in the party. Okay, let me not ask you now. Let me rephrase that question. Who do you think probably has the upper hand?
Well, for me, that is a very, very difficult question for me to answer. But I can tell you, with those two candidates, I'm at peace. I'm very comfortable that these are people who have an agenda of what they are going to prosecute if they eventually get into office. It now behoves on the party to look at some other factors and try as much as possible to make the process very transparent, so that whoever emerges, the acrimony, the bad blood that will develop there could be, could be inconsequential. Because if a man feels he has been shortchanged, the bitterness will be there. But if a man has gone to the field and he realizes that, look, my opponent played better than I did, and his goals were, obvious goals, there was no case of a hand of God, it will reduce the acrimony. But for me, I don't think I'm in a position to decide who will become the presidential flag bearer of APC, because I don't have that right.
Final question now. Do you think how well the APC manages its primaries could determine how well it does in the 2015 election?
Definitely. The Nigerian people are very desirous that we want a change, because we are not comfortable with the present happenings in the country. We are looking forward to a Nigeria where people will go to bed with both eyes closed, where people will wake up and realize that there is a better tomorrow. We are hoping and praying fervently, because our Bible tells us that prayer does all things. And our prayer is not only to pray, we are going to work towards it. Because even the Bible says... So
if the APC doesn't manage it well, it could affect.
Let us pray in the positive, but have the negative at the back of our mind.
If the APC doesn't manage well, it could affect it.
We pray they manage it well.
We pray they manage it well. Thank you very much, Nelson, for coming on the program. Thank you very much for your contributions.
Thank you very much.
Well, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll have another guest weigh in on these issues. Don't go away. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ, if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching DEJI360, and today we're looking at the controversial immunity clause and, of course, what is likely to play out in the presidential primaries of the APC, considering the big or heavy political weights that have indicated interest to contest the presidential election under that party's platform. I'm now being joined via Skype on the program by Chief Godwin Wazirike, who, of course, is a lawyer and also the president of Akai Kenga. And, of course, he was a delegate to the just concluded national conference that took place in Abuja. Chief Godwin, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking you, the immunity clause, it was one of the issues you discussed at the political conference you had. Now the National Assembly is taking the issue up. As a matter of fact, the House of Representatives has decided to do away with it. What do you make of this?
Well, at the conference, national conference that just ended, both at the committee level and at the plenary, we insisted the immunity clause must be removed. But at the conference, we said it's only for the governors, deputy governors. We preserved that of the president and the vice president. But I'm surprised that the House has gone even further to include the president and deputy president. If we remove them, for the president and deputy president, who decides who is to arrest who? In other words, Mr. President, through his office, appoints the Inspector General of Police subject to confirmation. He turns around as he's walking towards his car, he's arrested. It doesn't make sense. Immunity for presidents all over the world, they should remain. If there are procedures for removal or for stripping of immunity, you also streamline them, you state them. That's what we have in some countries. But blanket removal is never allowed anywhere. Just like in the United States. They have the special prosecutor who, under special powers given by the Congress, will question the president but will not have the immunity removed. That is all. We saw it play out in the time of Clinton. He had to be questioned, he swore to an affidavit, and so on and so forth, but nothing had to do with its removal or removal of any immunity. But in Nigeria, I think they have gone whole hog. Removing of immunity for Mr. President is definitely wrong.
But why would you want to leave that of the president and remove that of the governors and deputy governors, as you said you recommended at the conference?
Well, personally, I know that I was against even the removal of the immunity clause for the governors. The reason is very simple. If the governor of my state is on his way to Lagos at the airport, a commissioner of police will grab him and put him in detention. The people of Imo State definitely will not like it. They will read other meanings. So let me even put it in modern parlance. Today, virtually all the governors who belong to APC are very busy abusing Mr. President. Nobody has arrested them. When you remove this immunity clause, what will happen? The next commissioner of police will just grab him and say one thing or the other, and before you know it, he's in prison. And that is the one thing we don't want. And it's negative in any freedom of choice, freedom of democracy, or anything. But if it is shotgun democracy, yes, that could be allowed, but not in our own type of democracy. But besides all this, I do not see this removal of immunity, either for the president or the governor, seeing the light of the day, since for this new amendment to take effect, at least majority of the House of Assembly will have to agree.
Yeah, that's true.
And of course, I don't see any governor allowing his own House of Assembly to pass such a resolution.
So you're basically saying you don't see, if for instance, at the end of the day, if the Senate decides to go to toe the line of the House of Reps, you do not think the state houses of assemblies would accept to pass this? No,
definitely, except perhaps Ekiti State, because it has the House of Assembly dominated by APC.
And that is if members, I mean the APC members in that state, if in the coming days the majority of them do not defect to the PDP, because we saw 6 of them have already defected anyway.
Well, we call them the migratory lawmakers. You remember, even in the National Assembly, some of them got up and jumped up and said, we have crossed over to APC. Shortly after, many of them started coming back. And what the APC has been promising, which is change of leadership, never took place, not even attempted. So, definitely, that provision will not survive.
All right, okay, let's turn our attention now to the APC. I mean, you look at the heavyweights that are running for the presidency under the platform of the APC. Do you think what we have in the APC now, when you have too many political heavyweights gunning for the presidency in one platform, under one platform now, that could be a recipe for crisis when it comes to the party primaries?
Well, APC, like I've always described it, is an amalgamation of strange bedfellows. That one has come to be. Then the next question is this: those coming from PDP, those coming from CPC, and those coming from ACN, and those who claim to own the party. That is the second one. The third one is the influence of money. Like the chairman of the party said yesterday, to sieve the chaff from the wheat. Those money men are the ones who can afford to pay 27.5 million. What about the others? No matter how good you are under APC, if you don't have the money, you cannot play the game. Money is the name of the game. So I don't see a crisis-free convention coming up. No, definitely it will be a battle royale. You noticed the high presence of the leadership of APC when Buhari.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Is that not a clear pointer as to where the party might be going as far as you know, its presidential candidate is concerned? Because to have such a huge number of the party leadership at the declaration ceremony now of former head of state General Buhari, most people would say, well, that's a clear pointer that the APC might be considering giving its ticket to the former head of state.
And in terms of strategy, I think it was a wrong strategy. If they had wanted to come, they would have gone to Atiku's own declaration also and say we are free-minded, we are independent, but they have decided to show their preference early. The wife of the leader of the party was there. The governors were there, yet none of them showed up in Atiku's own. And I know Alhaji Atiku is a man full of money. He has a lot of money to give a real fight. So APC must be ready for a dirty fight. We still have at least one governor waiting to declare, Kwankwaso. But my impression is that he's still consulting. Whether he will go the whole hog is another thing. The governor of Imo State also announced that he is running. But whether he will go the whole hog, I do not know. But definitely anybody who can afford 27.5 million to go and contest must be a man of wealth.
Well, but in the case of Buhari, we understand he actually got a bank loan to pick up that form.
Why not you go and get a loan from the bank? Try. Try and see if any bank will look in your way if you want to take even 1 naira from a bank.
Are you suggesting that Buhari might have lied when he said he got a bank loan?
He was not lying
to pick up that form.
He was a man of means to borrow money from a bank. Banks do not lend to poor people. That's the first thing you must realize.
Okay.
Go to the nearest bank and tell them you want 50,000 naira, they will not give you. So when it comes to money, Buhari, Atiku, Kwankwaso, Rocha Sokorocha, they're all very wealthy people. So in APC, it's going to be a battle royale.
Can I ask you a quick question, Chief Uwazurike? Yes. How do you think, who can you just hazard a guess who is likely to pick up the presidential ticket of the APC? I mean, from your own calculations.
I think it's Buhari. All the signs are pointing in that direction. But this is where the crisis will erupt. The man called Alhaji Abubakar, Atiku Abubakar, believe you me, is not a man of straw. He came determined to pick up that ticket, and he came prepared, both intellectually and financially. So how they will appease him, I do not know. And he does not give up easily. So some of those migratory politicians, the moment they lose there, they'll go over there. That's what I'm saying. We call them the Taliban politicians, those who move from one place to the other, who are really not. But Atiku's major problem is that people like Bola Tinubu and others will not like to give him the ticket because they have a history with each other. Second, they wouldn't want it to look like those who came from PDP have taken their ticket. In other words, there's nobody good enough, either in old CPs or old ACN. But remember, Atiku also is old ACN.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the founders of ACN.
Okay, let me quickly ask you this question because we have to end this now. Very quickly. What the APC is doing, people have said, at least it's still better than what the PDP has done. In the case of the PDP, it simply come out to say, look, this is our candidates, basically closing the doors on any other person who might be nursing a presidential ambition. Forget the fact that the party has come out to say, look, yes, you know, people are free to contest and all of that, but then the party has made it clear where it is going to.
Well, there is no difference between what APC is doing and PDP is doing.
Oh, really?
We have some presidential candidates under PDP, but whether they will have the courage to go the whole hog is another thing. Let me put it this way. If you're a politician, before you declare, you must know who is behind you. If all those who are supposed to have split themselves behind 10 or 20 people decide to go behind one man, what's wrong with it? But it's a different thing where the day Jonathan will declare you have the party leadership, the day Mr. Adamo will declare the party leadership will be absent. That's the real difference. So, in terms of money, politics, and so there's no difference between PDP and APC, none. In terms of thuggery, there is no difference. In terms of personnel, there is no difference. It's a matter of both sides of different sides of the same coin. All
right. Thank you very much, Chief Godwin Azurike, for your thoughts there, and thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you. Thank you, too.
Well, I've been speaking to Chief Godwin Azurike, who is a political affairs analyst, a lawyer, and also the president of Aka Ikenga. That's it on the program. We thank you very much for joining us. If you want to watch it again, it's simple. Just go to our website, tv360nigeria.com. You'll find the program and lots more there. You can also watch us on YouTube by subscribing to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/TV360 Nigeria, or follow us on Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. You could as well like us on Facebook. The address is facebook.com/TV360 Online. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at TV360 Online. Thank you again for watching. We're back again next week. See you then.